everyone, welcome back to Coaching F.I.R.E. David, your coach here, and I'm super excited as today you're going to join me on our journey as I explain to you our first rental property. So this all started last year. The beginning of 2021 is really when we decided to put our sights onto a rental property, and it all begins with building your down payment. So I'm kind of discuss with you kind of the step-by-step process we took to get to our rental property, and kind of the difficulties and the downfalls or the things we didn't think about, as well as of course the bonuses, because having a rental property can be a huge asset in your portfolio, and it definitely helps build you on your way to FIRE. So our rental property, like I said, it began in 2021. We were saving a lot of money in a vehicle that was called My Constant, right? So it's an app. It deals with cryptocurrencies. We don't use it much for cryptocurrency though. We hold our cryptocurrency in another wallet. But this app was allowing you to receive a 10% interest on all money that you were giving them. So that was huge for us. I was like, wow, money markets, right? You get like what? Lucky if you're 2%, 3%. Even China has a really nice money market that my wife can get into. That was offering 3% at the time, but this was a 10% return. So we were pushing a lot of money into that. I kind of talked over the idea with my wife. I was like, hey, I'd really like to try and get a property. And this was before the property boom. Also, you guys know, 2021 property prices right through the roof. But this was before that started. I mean, this is early 2021, maybe even late 2020. And things actually weren't looking so good because year of the pandemic and things were really slowing down. So I decided hey, I really want to get into a property. I told her before, this wasn't out of the blue. I always had a dream to own properties. I had a good friend in high school who used to teach me. He was like, hey, I got properties. And when he was younger, he was older then, we worked at a bar together, but he had 5 properties, and he's like, oh yeah, these all pay for my life, and I just work here for fun. And I was like, that sounds like the dream, dude, right? He was firing before I even knew what FIRE was. So that's exactly what I wanted to do. And I was like, man, I'm saving all this money. We just paid off all our debts last year. We finished paying for our wedding last year. So we were clean slate. All the money that we've been shoveling into other things now, it was free to use. And of course, we're maxing out our Roth. We're putting it towards other savings goals. But I was like, now's the time, man. Let's save for a house. Let's get this down payment. So we were able to get this 20% saved, fairly, about 20%. Of course, it depends what property we're going to pick up. But we had 20% of close to almost a $300,000 house, right? So we had close to $60,000 saved for this. And it took us a while, but we got there. And I know you guys, if you're following my videos, you've seen our savings rate. We have a really high savings rate some months. It is hard to save money though, because our savings rate is very, very high, but also our incomes are very, very low compared to America. So in China, our incomes are great, but you have to realize there's a huge price difference between America and China. So everything I'm earning in Chinese yuan is fantastic, but when I change it back to USD, I'm just hitting maybe middle class. Maybe, I don't even think I'm hitting middle class that well. So there is that. And then the price always fluctuates as well. Sometimes the yuan is stronger and we send back the money and we get more dollars. The other days the yuan is weaker and then we send back the yuan and we get less dollars. So it really fluctuates on that as well, especially over the past few years. It's just been crazy, up and down, up and down. So we always had to worry about that, but we were sending the money back. It took a lot of work. I did a lot of side jobs, but I had my goal set, so it wasn't too hard. So then as things started to fall into place, the first thing you do is you secure lending. I didn't know that at first, so I reached out to these turnkey properties. Turnkey properties it's a type of investing that is done, and it's these providers that find houses that are usually being flipped, and maybe someone bought it, fixed it, put it onto a turnkey provider, and then they're selling it out to usually landlords. I mean, you could buy it as a primary residence as well, no doubt, but usually they're selling it out to a landlord or an investment property, and they call it turnkey because basically you just get the key and turn it and it's ready to go. It's a house that needs no remodel, nothing done. It's ready for you to have a tenant and start earning your income. So I reached out to a turnkey provider called Rent to Retirement. They're pretty big. I'm sure some of you have heard of them before. They're not bad by any means, although I did read a lot of reviews on them, so you guys can do that on your own, form your own opinion. I thought it was great, but it was just that they weren't willing to work with me without having a loan provider. So they sent me a list of 12 loan providers, and they said, first, get yourself a pre-approval letter, and then come back to us and we will get you set up, start looking at properties. I was like, that's fantastic. So I was like, I got lots of time to kill. Let's send out some emails. So I literally emailed every loan provider they gave me. Some of them are conventional loan providers. Other ones are called hard money lenders. Two big differences here. Conventional loan providers are what most people are used to. That is your banks, your mortgages. And they are very, very helpful because usually your interest rates are lower, your down payments are lower, and it's usually backed by some type of, government institution. You're really following the rules. Hard money lenders, on the other hand, are not so much. You're borrowing money from a third party. It can still be a bank, but you're not going to be following the same criteria of the regular mortgage lenders. So it literally could be like you have a higher down payment. A lot of them were like loan to value payments. So if they knew the value of the property was this high, but you're paying this much, you could borrow more because your price is under what the actual value of the home is, and vice versa. If the loan was this much, but the value of the house was this much, you needed to provide a larger down payment because they weren't going to provide you more than what they thought the loan to value ratio was. So I was also learning all this for the first time as well, but it was okay. I was like looking into these hard money loans. The other thing with hard money lenders is that the interest rates tend to be obnoxiously high, especially when it comes to a mortgage. So it's like when your conventional loans were giving you 3%, possibly 4%, the hard money lenders are giving you like 8%. Like, it's not good. You can negotiate with them, but that's what I was seeing anyway when I was asking around. After those emails, I got a couple of responses, and it was looking pretty down. Nobody was really willing to work with us. They were all claiming like, hey, you don't really have much proof of income. I don't have W-2s. I do file taxes, but I'm filing from my income in China, so it gets messy. I have an income exclusion because of paying taxes here. I don't really pay taxes in the US. And then again, I told you about like the whole money transfer thing. Sometimes I'm making more, sometimes I'm making less. It really depends on, I guess, how the dollar and the yuan are related at that day or that moment. So it was just hard, I was telling them like, this is why, this is this. And they're like, well, without these things, we can't provide you with a loan because you can't provide these documents. And it was really disappointing. And I was feeling down. I was like, maybe the only way I'm ever going to get a house is a full cash payment, which really ruins the idea of having a house, right? You want to be able to leverage the house. Leverageability, as they call it, right? That's the huge bonus of having real estate, is you're using someone else's money to grow your money in a safer way, like not borrowing on margin and potentially losing that, which could be possible, but I wouldn't recommend it. So yeah, I was feeling pretty down about it, and I was going to give up. And then actually my little brother was the reason that we were able to keep going and moving forward. He recommended me to a small town lender. The property that I was buying and where I'm from is Rochester, Minnesota. And so I was potentially getting a property there just because it was near my hometown. I could have people that I know, my father, mother, brother, sisters, go and check on the property, even like visit the property, make sure everything's okay with the property. So I was trying to get it in this area. It wouldn't be too much of a trouble to ask someone to help me out. So when he provided me with some information, he had said, hey, there's this small time lender, you could give them a shot. So again, I just sent an email, no harm, no foul. And it actually turned out to be the best thing I could do, because this small town provider was able to, he gave me his phone number and he said, hey, can you give me a call sometime next week? So I gave him a call and I basically told him our whole situation, what I was trying to do, all the money we kind of had. He asked a lot about like our investments and all this other stuff. And basically he said, give us all the documents you can about all your investments, your assets, everything you can. And so I did that, and he met with some other people from the bank. And then about a week later, he emailed me back and said, we can approve you for up to this much. And I was like, that's incredible. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was ecstatic. So we ended up getting approved by a small town lender. And if you guys are having any troubles finding someone to be a mortgage lender for you, this is what I highly recommend. Find a small town lender. They are willing to take the time to get to know you, learn your situation, understand why you're not following the conventional method, and they'll be able to just, put you together and be like, okay, we trust you, you have this is why you're not being able to get a loan, and we're going to help you. And that's exactly what happened for us, and it worked out really, really well. And hopefully it works out really well for the bank too. I'll let you guys know in about 30 years. So yeah, we were able to get the loan, and then we were on to the next step, which was finding a property. This was all happening then about September of 2021. So you can tell it took us a while to get the down payment. It took us a while to find the mortgage provider, about 6 months total time. All of this is happening while I'm overseas in China. So for you guys, it might be a little bit quicker of a process to get through that stuff, but for us, it did take a while. So then it was September of 2021, and as you guys probably know, the real estate market was hot. So it was really difficult to find a property. I turned on a notification provider from Zillow. I had a notification from Redfin, another housing website. I had an MLS listing agent that was emailing me properties that were coming on the market in Rochester. And my little brother, who helped me find the lender, is also a real estate agent, and he was sending me things that he was finding on the MLS as well. So it was like I was constantly getting updates, but these houses were just going so fast. I'd find one that we liked and we wanted to go visit, and by the time I could arrange for my father or mother to go there and get photos for us and visit the house, it would already have an offer, or it'd already be sold. It was crazy. So we ended up getting really, really lucky with a home that was for sale by owner. So this avoided the MLS. So none of the people that had agents that were dripping the MLS to them would work. And also on Zillow, it goes under a special category. So there's like houses for sale by agents, and then there's houses for sale by others or whatever. And of course, it was in that category. So in my hometown, you can see like the views and the saves for each house. And this one was much smaller than the other houses. I mean, it was a duplex, and to find a duplex in Rochester is quite difficult. At least from what I've come across, it seems quite difficult to find a duplex. So I felt very lucky. I was able to get my dad there. He looked at it. He told me like, oh, this is good. This is bad. This maybe needs to be fixed. And overall, he said it was a decent property. One thing that he was looking for was like a strong foundation, right? As long as the foundation's fine, you can fix cosmetic things fairly cheaply. Of course, appliances are a big worry, but it was okay for it, and it was already split as a duplex has split electricity. Doesn't split the water, but they do split gas. So half of the utilities are split, half the water is not split, unfortunately. But I figured this was a good investment opportunity because it also provided the house with a better percentage or better odds of being a 1% property. A 1% property just means that you're able to receive 1% of the home's value in rent each month. I know that people usually look for higher than the 1% rule. Some people have said the 1% rule doesn't matter so much, and other people say the 1% rule is impossible to find now. So I really think it depends on where you're buying houses and which part of the states you're in. Of course, home values vary dramatically from state to state and city to city. In Rochester, I felt the housing market's fairly strong, and it would be hitting 1%, I think, in my market is a great deal. So I was, again, super happy. Potentially a 1% house. Again, this is my first rental, so I wasn't 100% sure how much I could get for this house. I was just looking at other houses that were for rent and trying to, estimate, could I get this? Could I get that? What's the location? This location was near a bus stop, so I thought that was fantastic because the bus routes in Rochester aren't that great yet, but I heard they're getting better. So I was like, okay, so it's near a bus stop, that's good. It has a garage, that's good. Um, it's a duplex, so that's good. Potential opportunity to earn two incomes instead of one. But then again, there's more troubles with that. Oh, you have two tenants instead of one, and potentially the tenants don't get along. So there's a lot going on that I was considering, but overall, I felt this is strong. I'll even share a spreadsheet. It looks a little bit like this. This is what I was using when I was calculating my returns on the rental property. And anything that was too low, I wasn't considering. This one, of course, I felt really confident with. So after we were able to find this property, we were put in an offer. The guy was asking for quite a bit above the Zillow estimate. Of course, it's a hot market. He had every right to do that. We countered his offer closer to the Zillow estimate. He came back with another counter. We came back with another counter. And basically, he said he was going to wait. He didn't want to take our offer right away, which is, I don't know if you've ever had to be in that situation, but it's hard to be patient. Of course, this is our first purchase as well, so we were a little bit excited or a little bit, we felt a lot of anxiety going through that, waiting. And it was like every day I was checking my phone. Did he answer? Did he do anything? So we waited about, I think it was 3 days, and then it was the weekend. And I told my little brother who was representing me, I said, hey, let him know that next week we need to know by Friday. If he takes our offer, all right, we're going to do it. If he doesn't take our offer, we're going to withdraw the offer and we're going to start looking for other houses, because I didn't want to be tied up trying to get this house while he's waiting for somebody else to potentially offer higher. And if he doesn't, I'm like a backup plan. And so we wanted to skip that and just be like, all right, this is our house now. Make a decision. Is our offer good enough or not? So eventually Friday rolled around and he accepted the offer. So we set our closing date for December 3rd, and that was when we had to start moving the money, which was much harder than I thought it would be. Again, the whole experience of getting this rental property was like a lot of things that I was like, oh, this will be simple, this will be nice, this will be easy. No, all right. Everything tends to have more of a challenge than you ever think, or things just don't work. So I started moving all the money into one bank account that I set up with the bank who's giving me the mortgage, so that way we could, pay the down payment. And it just took forever to move money. I was like, because I pulled the money out of that app. It took like, I don't know, 5 to 6 days to move the money out of the app. And then it goes into the bank that's linked with the app, which isn't the bank that I opened up for the mortgage. So now I need to transfer the money from this bank to that bank. So I initiate a transfer. Then all of a sudden I have to get money from another app because it wasn't all in my constant. I had some money elsewhere. And like I told you guys, originally we saved close to like 60,000. So we were putting, I think we got up to 50,000 into that bank because I was assuming I only needed about 50,000 for closing. It was even less than 50,000. I think I only needed like 47 or something, 46. And luckily though, we had 50 in there because it ended up costing more. And then the other 10 that I had to put into the account ended up being slower because it came from another app, of course. And it got in there eventually though, which I'll talk to you later about. We did need more money than just the down payment. So we had that, and then we had to buy insurance on our closing date. We had to get power of attorney to my father because I'm not in America. So I had to do this online notary where we called somebody and like we're video calling with them, and they were like, oh, do you confirm that you're so and so, and giving power of attorney to so and so, and we did that, and so he was able to sign the real estate purchase in my behalf. I'm really thankful for actually the 2020 pandemic because it put a lot of this stuff online, which made it very easy for us to get like these notaries. Because I think without that push for the online services, a lot of things had to be done in person. Like if I didn't have that power of attorney set up before, there was no way they were going to give that to me over the phone because that's highly skeptical, like they don't know who you are. Are you the right person to give power of attorney to that person to be you? So it was like, I was really grateful actually that worked out the way it did. So we were able to get power of attorney. He went there for closing, paid a lot of money, and we finally had the house, right? So we got the keys, and then the fun began. So within the first week, we had a builder go there. He had to fix some gutters that we knew were, a gutter was like bent down in the middle and it was causing a leak, and then it was rotting some of the wood, so we had to fix that. We had to silicone some of the windows that potentially were leaking, and we just needed it to be better, fix it up. So we were doing that quickly. We hired a handyman, which was harder than I thought. I called about 7 handymen, and they're all booked out forever long, and it was hard. Like I said, everything you think is easy, it's not, it's hard. And then I had to arrange to get carpet. So the upstairs of this house is a split floor duplex. Bottom floor is a 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom. The upstairs is a 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom. But the upstairs unit also has another upstairs. So it's technically a 3-floor house. And it's like an attic, but it's an attic bedroom, and it's huge. But he had taken the carpet out of it because I guess the last tenant that he had ruined the carpet, or smoke burns or cigarette burns or something. So he'd taken the carpet out, so I had to get new carpet laid. So we arranged for that. The dishwasher in the upstairs unit was broken, so I had to call a dishwasher company that, they had to come remove it and then put a new one in. And all these things that, it wasn't easy. The carpet, again, we found a carpet company. We use Home Depot. They have a carpet install. They come out and quote you and then sell you the carpet, but it was backlogged. So it ended up being like, they're like, oh, it wasn't going to be till like January, I don't know, 24th or something, like super long. This is December, probably like December 7th by the time they visited the house. They're saying they're not even going to have it out for over a month. Dishwasher, same thing. They're like, oh, we're backlogged right now. We have Christmas orders to fill. They're not getting new dishwashers as fast as they thought they were. So again, it was like January 14th. And I was like, man, everything's taking so long. And one of the difficult parts of having a house or a rental property is the longer you don't have a tenant, you're losing income. So it's like, it's in your benefit to get it fixed up as fast as you can and get people into that unit. And that was everything I read. That was what I learned. Everyone's like, don't waste time. Just get it fixed and get people in there. There's all these kind of like stories. I don't know if they're real or not, but it was like, oh, so-and-so had a rental property and he kind of was fixing it on the weekends but didn't take it seriously, and he was missing months of income. And it's like, I didn't want to be that guy. So I was like, oh, get it fixed quickly, get somebody in there. And so then it was time to get somebody in there. So to start with, it was like either I could choose a rental property company or I could try and manage it myself. I was leaning towards a company just because I'm in China, and paying a company would be fine. So I investigated the companies. I found a few companies in Rochester, big companies. I'm sure there's smaller ones. One guy said he was managing too many rentals, he couldn't handle any more, so he wasn't going to do it. Another guy said he can do it. It was 8%. They're a big company, but they had a lease fee. So every time they leased somebody for you, you owed them 50% of the first month's rent. And then every time they renewed a lease for you, you owed them 25% of the first month's rent. So I was like, well, yeah, that's a huge amount of money. 50% of the first month's rent, and then if they renew, you're still giving them 25% of the next month's rent, or the next year's rent, first month's. So it's like, it was a huge amount. And then the third company, which I felt was the best and I liked it the most, was a 10% fee, but no other fees, just 10% of everything you collected. Every rent they collected, not the deposit. So I found out quickly, I was like, in my eyes, when I broke down those companies and I wrote down each one and what they were doing, I heavily leaned towards that 10% company. I felt, they had a good model. They said, if no one's renting the unit from you, you're not paying them. They said they're going to get the rental unit rented, and then everything you collect, they get 10%. And I was like, that's fair, because it's in their best interest to get your property rented quickly, right? If I'm paying them every month, even without it being rented, what's their incentive for getting it rented? And the other part I thought was good about them was that there was no leasing fee, which means that once they get somebody in there, they want to find a quality tenant, and they want to find someone who's going to try and stay long term or help them stay long term. because that means that they don't need to find somebody new for your property. This is hugely beneficial for you as the property owner, because every time when you have turnover, there's a potential for your house to be broken or dirty, or you need to fix it, as well as a potential time without tenants. So you have maybe a month to find a new tenant. So you're losing money every time there's a turnover. It's better if you can find these long-term tenants. Well, in my eyes, this 10% company, they were pushing towards long-term tenants. They said, we aren't collecting money when you turn over your tenants, so it's in our interest to have someone in there long-term, and we want to treat them well, and then it helps you, the landlord as well. The other company that was 8% is like, you see, they have a 50% fee for a new lease and a 25% fee for a re-signed lease. Well, that's encouraging them to get you a tenant that's trying to be short-term, or maybe they treat your tenant poorly and don't handle things quickly, because that means the tenant's going to leave, and then they get someone else to come in, and boom, another 50% for them. Otherwise, they only get 25%. So it's kind of in their incentive to not treat your tenants well, because they would potentially get more money. Now, I'm not saying that's what they do. I don't know the company. But the way it's structured kind of is like, it makes you wonder, is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. But I didn't trust it, because it just seemed not right? Like the incentives were in the wrong places. So I was leaning towards the 10% company, but my father was the one who, of course, we're having a call about it. He's like, don't use the rental property company. He's like, let's try it on our own first. And I'm truly grateful for my dad and mom. I mean, they helped me so much with this rental property. Again, I'm not in America, so everything that had to be done at these properties, they had to do. Every time I hired a handyman and they had to get into the house, my parents had to be there. Every time I had a tenant that wanted to go and see the house, my parents had to be there. Every time I had to do anything with the house, my parents had to be there. So I owe them so much for what they've done. But my dad was actually the one who discouraged me from using the property rental company, and he said, let's try it ourselves. So I went on Facebook. I have like a Facebook selling group for Rochester, and I was on Craigslist, and I was on Zillow Rental Manager, and I had bought a sign for the front yard. So I had 4 things going on, and of those 4 things, I was getting calls all the time. Now, I have a US number here in China. It's like an internet phone number. So I get calls, but there's a huge time difference, right? We're almost 13 hours difference. 13 or 14 hours, depends on whether there's daylight savings or not. China doesn't change, but America does. So oftentimes it's like 13 hours difference, and then sometimes 14 hours difference. But either way, if you're calling me at noon, I'm basically at midnight. So most of the time I'm getting calls, I'm sleeping. So then I'd wake up the next morning, usually pretty early, and I was calling everybody back. Hopefully they were off work. And I had like this phone questionnaire, and then, man, I talked to about 20 different people. And I was setting up all these times that people could go visit the house. And then, because of course my parents are the ones that have to show the house, so I was like stacking them. I was like, okay, you can go see the house at 3:30, you can see the house at 4, you can see the house at 4:30. So that way my parents could go there just once and, show 3 different people the house. But it in the end, it worked out. We ended up finding somebody right before Christmas. Literally, like, I think it was 2 days before Christmas, like December 23rd. They went and visited the house. They really liked it. And we got so lucky because they decided to take both units. They had a bigger family, and they're like, it would just suit us better if we had both units. They also thought like, we don't have to deal with neighbors. We kind of get our own house. And it's a duplex also, so we're kind of split. And I was like, well, if you're happy with that, I'm happy with that, because there are some downfalls, right? So you only have one family. In a duplex, you have to worry about if they leave, now you have both units unrented. If they're late, you have both units not paying. If something goes wrong, it's 2 units. So you are losing that backup factor of I have 2 units, so I don't have to worry. But I think also I was saving a lot of trouble for myself, because duplexes can cause trouble with, like, maybe this tenant and this tenant aren't getting along. Maybe the upstairs tenant's too loud on the floor and it's like causing trouble for the guy in the downstairs, right? I don't know. So I was happy with this. So they rented the unit, and like I said, they rented it right before Christmas, like December 23rd. They put a deposit, and then they said they're going to move in January 7th. So January 7th came, they moved in, and then I had to explain to them, hey, The carpet was backlogged, so we're not able to have the carpet until January 24th. Hey, the dishwasher is backlogged, so the dishwasher is not able to come until January 14th. And when you go to switch all the utilities to your name, there are 4 different utilities you need to switch because you took both units. So, I mean, it was complicated. Again, everything you think is easy is not easy when you're working with real estate, right? You always have to prepare for this not easy time. But overall, after we got that sorted and we got those fixes there, again, my parents had to be there, so the carpet came, my dad went back. Whenever they signed the lease with the tenant, my dad went back. When we brought the dishwasher, my dad went back. So again, thanks to my parents so much. They were a huge help. I couldn't have done it without them. But we got everything squared away, and I do want to talk a little bit about how I collected rent because I thought this was a great idea. We did an ACH transfer. So we set up with the bank that every month on the 7th, it would just pull the money and put it in my account. There is no need for the tenant to log in and do it. There's no need for me to log in and do it. The bank just did it. So we signed this paper agreeing 7th every day, 7th every month from this account, pull the money to this account, done. And it works without a hitch, right? February came, paid. March came, paid. April came, paid. May, didn't pay. I actually got an email from the tenant. They said, we've been sick, we had COVID, we had to take some time off work, and we're not able to make the rent on time. So, first things, my lease was only 6 months. I read somewhere that if you live in a northern state, you should try and get your lease done in the summer times because it's a lot easier for people to move, right? In Minnesota especially, nobody wants to move houses in December and January. It is cold outside. It's hard to find people who want to rent, as well as it's hard to move out of your house when you are renting. So we got really lucky we found this renter. At the same time, we wanted to reset the schedule to the summer. So I offered them a 6-month lease and said, hey, in the summer, if you guys are still happy, we'll just sign a year lease. And that way we're back in the summer. So I was okay with that. But now it was May and they were late. So I had to cancel. First thing I had to do was cancel the ACH. So we called the bank, we could put in, cancel the ACH on the 7th. And then I had to set up a way for the tenant to pay me from an online payment source. So I used Zelle. We were able to transfer money that way. It was fine. But again, finally something that were common with landlords not getting rent on time. I was very lenient. I know that a lot of times, like I read all the landlord books, I listened to Bigger Pockets. Everyone's like, oh, you need to be stern, you need to be strong. And that's exactly how I went into this. I was like, I'm going to be a strong landlord. If you're late, I'm going to punish you because this is my house, right? But it turned out to be so much different, right? Like, I got to connect with these people, and I know that they try hard, and everyone struggles in life, right? Even I struggle in life. Everyone struggles. And you just listen to them, and you have sympathy, and I couldn't be that guy. So we wrote out like a payment plan that we like attached to the lease. It allowed them to pay May's rent twice throughout the month. So far it's been good. They followed it, the first half anyway. And overall, yeah, it's just been fine. I think everyone's happy with the way it turned out. And I couldn't be that heartless of a landlord. So I really felt for them. The payment plan goes into June as well because they're paying May late, it kind of pushes back their June payment and they couldn't just keep paying out so much money. And I was like, I completely understand. So I was able to work with them on that. And then in July, their lease is actually up. So I figured instead of trying to deal with an eviction, instead of being a complete dick, I went on and I was like, all right, let's work with them. And we heard them out. We listened to them. And I think, I understand the point that people have on Bigger Pockets. I get that you want to teach your tenant that rent can't be late. And you need to teach them that they need to take responsibility for what they sign up for. And they signed a contract to pay on time. They should pay on time. I get that, all right? But I also get that things happen in your life, right? Things happen in my life. And if I was ever late paying my rent here, I would hope that my landlord would listen to me and at least take the time of day to hear me out. So again, I wanted to be the strict landlord, but I couldn't pull myself to do it. And I also figured my backup plan is if things don't work out for May and June, July the lease is up and we can just move on, find a new tenant, try again. Overall, it was going well, and that was all. So then I have my taxes are due this month. Now this was brutal, right? So the fees associated with owning rental properties, at least in Minnesota, of course it's different state to state or maybe even city to city, but in Minnesota, in Rochester, it is brutal. I am paying over $3,000 a year in property taxes. I didn't associate that with my mortgage, so my mortgage is literally just principal and interest, insurance, taxes, all other fees are my responsibility. So I was doing good. I mean, everything I was saving extra, I didn't touch it. I was just saving it in an account because I was like, oh, let's get 3 months of mortgage payments built up. So I was putting everything into an account, and then all of a sudden I got the bill from the tax county, and they're like, hey, we need $3,400 for taxes for 2022. And I was like, what? Like, unbelievable. How could it possibly be that much? This house is small. I mean, not small, but it's smaller, right? It's not even that big. My parents had a huge house when I was growing up. Like, much, much, much bigger. My house, not even close. Each unit's like 800 square feet, and they're stacked on top of each other. How could it possibly be $3,400 in taxes? Well, the thing is that in Rochester, anyway, you get a huge tax break if you are the primary resident, if you're the homesteading it. I'm not homesteading it. It's a rental property. So they're like, oh, you're using it as an investment. Let's tax him. So I have to pay huge taxes on it. Second of all, I had to pay to be able to rent this house out. I have it's a 2-year, I don't know what they call it, like a license, rental license on a property. So this thing is a big fat fee again. It's like $86 to start it. And then it's like another $40 per unit, which I have 2 units. So it came to like another $80. So total was like $160 some dollars. And they taxed it. So it was like $186 to buy this license for the house, which is good for 2 years. And then they send a property inspector to make sure everything's inspected fine. And then they're like, oh, you're a new landlord. You have to take a class. So they sent me a bunch of YouTube videos to watch. Again, not so bad. The YouTube videos I actually found very helpful because they kind of talk about the local laws and ordinances, kind of different situations that landlords were in. It was actually really cool because they videoed like a live Q&A with some professional lawyer landlord guy and then a lot of residents of the town. I think it was filmed a while ago and the video quality isn't the best, but it was a cool opportunity to learn, right? And then they brought in like the police chief and they brought in some other people to speak on their behalf. Some people from the county's office as well as some people from the sheriff's office. So it was like they brought in the different people that would be associated with your rental property, potentially associated with your rental property, right? Like if you have to go through an eviction, or if you have to go to court, or if you have to do different things, breaking leases or signing leases, things you can and can't implement in your leases. So it's an okay class, but they charged you for it. Yeah, I had to pay to take a YouTube video class and then pass a test. And I was like, what is happening here? So you're paying just all the time. I feel like basically my wife made a joke. She said, we're collecting the money from rent and we're just giving it back to the state. So we actually get nothing. We're just the middleman in this situation. It seems like the fees are outrageous. That's just kind of how we feel about it. I know that rental property, at least in our experience now, or I hope so, is that it takes a while for it to actually start going positive. It takes a while for it to start being green. Hopefully next month we're going to see some green, all right? Because we had to put those fixes in when we first started. There was also some trouble with a furnace. I didn't mention to you guys, but like there was a gas leak and we had to fix the furnace. And again, all the handyman work we did, the carpet, the dishwasher, getting everything set up. We had to pay a lot of money, our taxes now, our fees. And it's like, we just, even though we've earned extra from our mortgage payment, we haven't actually hit any green yet. So I'm hoping next month we do. But that's kind of where we're at now. And then every month after that, hopefully it builds, and we can see more and more green, more and more profit, more and more return. If we're counting equity in our house, we've seen a lot of positive because housing prices have continued to rise since we bought it. And even Zillow price estimator has said that our value's gone up. So that part of the house is great, but I'm not planning on selling anytime soon, so the equity to me is not too important. I'd rather be seeing that rental cash flow. There is a potential downfall, and we are saving for it now, is, like I said, the furnaces. This house has 2 furnaces because in Minnesota, every house has a furnace, right? Cold winters. And this house is split into a duplex, and each duplex has its own gas, which means each duplex has its own furnace. But the catcher, or the kicker is these furnaces are like 40 years old, right? So the average life of a furnace is like, what, 10, 15 years? And these furnaces are like, these are old school furnaces. I'm surprised they're not boilers or something, right? Like, this is probably the way they back invented a furnace. They built these things. So they are old school furnaces. And that's not bad. I mean, they're still good. They're still kicking, of course, it's great. But there is the potential that they need to be replaced. So we have to save extra money just to make sure if they need to be replaced, they have them. One good thing about our rental now is that the renters we have, or the tenants we have, they are renting the whole unit, right? So if one furnace goes out, they potentially can heat the whole house with just the other one, and they don't need to worry about it. As well as with the dishwasher, when I was fixing the dishwasher, they had the house before I had the second one. I was like, oh, just use the other dishwasher and we'll get the other one replaced as soon as possible. And the same goes for many other things, right? There's 2 fridges, 2 dishwashers, 2 microwaves, 2 stoves, 2 everything, because it's a duplex. So having one renter rent a duplex from you is incredibly nice because it kind of relieves that stress of needing an emergency fix. Again, I'm not going to abuse it. I would definitely schedule a fix as soon as I can, but I don't need to pay for the emergency service or to get it done ASAP. So overall, these are just some downfalls we've had, as well as some positives. I've really enjoyed working with it. I think it's been a great investment, definitely a learning opportunity. And if you were to ask me if I would buy more real estate, my answer would be yes, but not yet. I think I would much rather be in America. This whole situation while being abroad has been more difficult than I think it should be. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's difficult even when I'm there, but I would give it a shot again in America. That way I can represent myself, I can see everything that needs to be done, I can do things myself, and I don't need to put so much burden onto my parents. So that would be my answer if you were to ask me, would I buy another rental property? Yes, but I would want to be there. Would I buy a rental property in China? No. Would I buy a primary residence in China? No. Housing in China is a little bit expensive. Very, very expensive. And I think you can, in our eyes, because we have, one American citizen and one Chinese citizen, it is easier for us to buy houses in America for a quarter of the price of a house in China, and we can rent that house out and receive more money than we would in China and just rent a house here with our proceeds, right? So our cash flow from our house in America pays for our rent in China and then some. Housing in China rents very, very cheap, but buying the house in China is very, very, very expensive, like extremely expensive. So the house that I'm renting now is like a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, tiny, tiny apartment, and yet it's more than my duplex that I just bought in Minnesota, like almost double the price. So yes, I would much rather have bought houses in America, rent stuff in China, wouldn't touch property here. That's not to say I won't in the future, but in our current situation, definitely not. I'd rather buy the houses there. And that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you really enjoyed the video. If you have any other questions or you want to know something about our first rental property, or maybe you have some advice you want to share with me, please comment below and let me know what you got. Again, disclaimer, I'm not saying my way is the best way or the only way or even the way you should go, right? So a lot of things I did, I had no idea what I was doing. I was kind of going with the flow. I was trying to research things. I'm not an expert by any means. Please check everything out yourself. I just wanted to share our experience and how we got into real estate. And yeah, give me a like, follow, subscribe. Catch you guys next time on Coaching Fire. Bye-bye. Subscribe, share, and like.